Good morning. We'll call this meeting to order. This is the October 3rd meeting of the Riverfront Development Committee meeting. Can we do roll call, please, Paula?
Scott Howard.
Present.
John Postick.
Present.
Michelle Dean. Jonathan Heisel.
Present. Present.
John Joyce.
Here.
Don Kasperite.
Here.
Barbara Larson.
Here.
Dana Templeton. Mike Voorhees.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Item 2, approval of the minutes. Second. All in, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Sorry about that. Okay. Minutes are approved. Item 3, cases withdrawn. None. Item 4, continuance request. None. Item 5, consent docket. None. Item 6, cases for individual consideration. None. Item 7, other business, is SPUD 01159 at 526 Southeast 12th Street.
Our applicant is not here, but if you have no objection, staff will present the staff report. Normally, we don't do that.
He's coming. I talked to him.
Oh, is that, okay, I gotcha. So, did you want to wait?
He's like seconds, but we can start talking about it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So this item is coming before you. It's a proposal to rezone to an SPUD, a SPUD, and you all, your ordinances allow you to make a recommendation. This will be to the Planning Commission. So this item would then go to the Planning Commission, then on to City Council. The applicant in this case, which is Bridging the Gap, and it's an outreach program of FaithWorks, and if you're familiar with that neighborhood, FaithWorks actually has a community building that's in the neighborhood. They're very active in the neighborhood. And Bridging the Gaps works with families in this neighborhood, helping them to become homeowners. And there are 2 pictures from across the street, and I'm going to go down to those. These 2 houses up in the upper right, those are 2 of the houses that are directly across the street, and they went through the program. And so they help them build the home, they help them to save the money, they help them to become the homeowners, which is really a great program. This is an older neighborhood. You drive through it. They're not really big homes, but there's a lot of pride in their neighborhood. There are 2 two-story houses that I referenced in the staff report. One of them is catty corner, and that's the one here in the upper left. And so if you wonder where there's a reference in my staff report to the maximum height they're proposing is 26 foot. That came from the house catty corner because they want to fit in with the neighborhood. So the reason you're seeing this, because you might say, but we don't deal with single-family homes because they're exempt in SRODD. And the reason you're seeing this is twofold. One is, when you rezone to a SPUD, if they didn't reference the Scenic River Overlay Design District, that would cut it out of the design district, and we really don't want to do that. We've had that happen, and most recently we had one that we're hoping that we're going to be able to put back in, a SPUD that's over by I-44 that you guys already made a recommendation on. But in this case, the other reason why it's coming before you is when you have more than one single-family house on a lot, it's looked on as multifamily, in which case Scenic River does apply to it. So that's why you're seeing this, and when you look at the proposed conditions for this SPUD, you'll see references to SRODD for certain things. Some of it comes from SRODD, for example, sidewalks. We require 5-foot sidewalks. The standard code in the city is 4-foot sidewalks. So we defer to SRODD. We require them on all street frontages, and that's consistent. You're going to see that in all the SPUDs that come before you. So building height that I mentioned before, that's one of the things we discussed in the staff report. In this district of SRODD, we have a minimum height of 3 stories. If you've driven the neighborhood, that really wouldn't fit in the neighborhood very well. And so staff was extremely comfortable with they're wanting a maximum of 3 stories. But as you saw, their proposed elevations, which let me go down to them. you see 1 and 2 story, which definitely will fit into this neighborhood. And what we want to promote is a development that will fit in the neighborhood and become part of the neighborhood. So because of that reason, staff has no issues with their proposal, and that proposal would be for a maximum of 3 stories. The other issue that we discussed in here is the fact that with the layout, they're proposing, they're actually going to have to put in the alley, which is on the south. Right now, the alley is just dirt. And so they would be putting in the alley. They're also going to be putting in an access roadway that runs along the west. And so you have these 4 houses that don't have access from a street. They have access from an alley. And there is actually a regulation requiring primary access from a street. So we had to address that in here. Staff had no issues with it. They have sidewalks. Internally, we're going to require sidewalks around the perimeter, and so people will be able to get to where they need to go. And this layout will actually, to me, use the property better. We're going to get more density than you typically would, which is definitely keeping with what the SRODD subdistrict wanted in this area. And so staff was totally supportive of the layout they are proposing. And so staff is recommending that you all provide a recommendation of approval to the Planning Commission on the basis that the project complies with the intent of the SRODD regulations and guidelines. And so attached, you had not only the site plan, but you had the elevations. You also had the various pictures of the surrounding area. And so from this layout, you can see where the project is in relationship to the community building that they have down in this corner. And then this is where the school starts, the elementary school that some of you might be familiar with. That I have no idea how long that's been there, but it's definitely been there a while. And so the river is to the north and to the west. And it's really not as far away as I initially thought it was when I was looking on a current aerial. So, are you the applicant? Okay. So the applicant is here, and then if you'll please sign in before you leave today. Thank you.
Alan Kirkpatrick, KFC Engineering, 525 Central Park Drive. I couldn't have done a better job. So everything you said was accurate and true. I'm not sure if I missed it, but the 2 homes to the north.
Yeah. I got pictures of them.
Okay, great.
I pointed that out to them
Okay.
because I wanted them to know that that's part of your program.
Right. They were built by bridging the gap. And then the only other thing I would add is it would be a maximum of 2. We won't exceed 2 stories on the proposed residences. So we won't be a 3-story.
And I showed them the elevations that you submitted, which is only shows 2 stories.
Right.
It would, the height that we're limiting it to would allow 3 stories if somebody wanted to do that. But
Gotcha.
for all the reasons that I mentioned earlier, we don't have a problem with them building 1- and 2-story houses at this location.
Right. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. Well, first a comment. I really like this plan. I think it's a good model for adding density to a neighborhood that our city would do well to copy elsewhere. My question is, it seems like in looking at the context of the neighborhood that all of the homes face north-south. The homes face the east-west running streets. Is there a reason why the northeast home in your plan faces east?
That's a really good question and a really good observation. The desire, sorry to stall on this, but the desire is to have as much street frontage as possible. Most homes do face north-south. There's also a desire to create community feeling within this group. There's one home that will be occupied by somebody that's with the organization. The other 7 will be sold, bought by people needing a hand up. The gazebos in the middle with the common sidewalk are intended to create the community feeling. There's a general sense this will be a largely Hispanic community. They see a lot of Sunday meals together, sitting out, having festivals or fiestas, and so in order to get that north-south feeling, but also to create the community, we tried to give the north-south elevations a front elevation, but still put doors facing each other so that they could come out and see each other right away. So it was a balance to try to abide by that north-south orientation, but still give them a community feeling between homes.
Do you think that community feeling would be compromised if that northeast home were rotated to face north-south?
We could, we certainly could entertain that, yeah. And that's is that the one home that you're really
This one, right there.
addressing?
I just asked the question because it seems to be the one different than the rest of the neighborhood.
Yeah, and I think we're completely open. There'd be no issue with that, I can tell you.
The only thing I would comment on that, and I obviously don't have a scale, but I was looking at it, the north-south dimension for what it's trying to do. If we just pivoted it with the setback that it's going to have, I don't know how much of this space here, which is for pedestrian movement to the north, I get if, for whatever reason in my mind, I'm thinking when we move it, that's going to actually encroach on that, because I think the width, it's, even if we put all of the vehicle stuff on, not on the street side, but on the other side, so that we could get the driveway as far from the corner as possible. But I don't know what the impact would be on that north-south green space if you flipped it.
Okay.
That's just an observation when I was looking at that.
The designs are, what we show is just kind of a, very general, not very detailed. So they're, point being, they're moldable. I mean, we could do whatever. And I think the critical thing for bridging the gap would be to have that. I believe the largest lot is like a 62.5 by 62 feet 6 inch by 62 feet 6 inch square. Right now the lots are 25 by 135. It's very unfriendly to a development like this. So we're in the process of getting it replatted, and we could certainly orient the homes differently. That's completely doable.
I just have a comment. I don't mind the variation in the front of the homes and them not being the same and one being rotated. I heard something about 20 years ago when they said in 5,000 years when they start excavating this year and time, they're going to dig up our houses and they're going to go, oh, Lord, they worship the car. Because every house is the garage first, the garage up front, and that's the most important thing if you drive through neighborhoods nowadays. So having the garage on the back of the house is not a thing to me, and I like the way that it varies the elevations of the front of the houses, and they all don't look similar.
I agree.
I also like to point, and I appreciate you bringing this. This is a good project. A couple comments is kind of related to what Dana said as well. It feels if you were to add a one car garage or driveway, then that feels like there's more green space available is an option for you, as well as pulling the sidewalk back to create more green space and tree possibilities between the back of curb and the sidewalk is another option for you as well.
That's great. Thank you for that suggestion.
I would even add to that, there's the option of leaving a 2-car wide pavement in front of the house, but just narrowing the curb cut to a 1-car width.
I like that. Yeah. That's actually a really good idea.
I live in an old neighborhood, and that's how my driveway is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just have one small comment. There is a sidewalk on the north part of the property, and I did live in a coach house at one time, so I know access from an alley, but I think that it might encourage more walking through the neighborhood if there was a walkway on the south side, on the front of those homes.
Oh, instead of walking in the alley?
Yeah, so you're talking in this area down here. Right there.
Sure. Yeah, okay.
I really like the project, though.
Well, sorry?
I really like the project, though.
Oh, thank you, yeah. It's not all my idea, I'm just communicating. So,
Are there any other questions for the applicant? Chair would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the application.
Okay. Postic.
Let me rephrase that. I move to provide a recommendation of approval to the Planning Commission.
And who second? Okay. All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Everybody, motion or application approved.
thank you for for the comments and consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, please.
Item 8, communications. Nothing. Comments, item 8B, comments from planning department staff.
We have a meeting next month.
Good.
You guys are on a roll, so check your calendars. There's at least 2 items, potentially a third one. Actually, and they're not rezoning cases, so they're actual projects in Scenic River that are coming before you for consideration.
Very exciting. Okay, thank you. Item 8C, comments from committee members. Okay. Well, item D, next meeting date is, what'd you say, November 7th? Okay, all right. Well, I think that's it. We'll call the meeting adjourned.
Anybody need parking? Do you need parking?
I'm good.
Okay. No problem. Thank you for being willing to just on the fly try and agree to it.
Yeah. Sure, yeah. I wouldn't, if I didn't think I could, I wouldn't have, but I could, so.
Yeah, and that's great. We were really trying to keep it full.
Yeah, thanks, Emily.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, thank you.
Good luck with it.
Thanks, Don.
Oh, yeah, thanks, John.
Hey, I ended up telling you because I told you. Although,
Yeah, because I
just going to railroad through it.
No, I said, I don't want to
Yeah.
we had no issues.
I pulled up, and there's a parking meter right next to my where I'm working. There's a person at it,
Oh, no. Thanks, John.
His,
So anyway.
Oh, that's okay. So,
I'll be there.
it's your